Hey, everybody. Welcome to another weekly episode of Wealth Building Live with David A. Pettis. That's me, your host today. I'm going to break down something really cool today. But before we get there, just as an announcement, if you're watching this and you feel like this is something of value, something you're getting from this, please share. Please go like and follow us or follow me on YouTube because I'm trying to give more every single week. And the more people that participate, that means more questions, the more I can give information away, because I don't always know, just to be clear, I don't always know what it is that you're looking to solve or what problems you're experiencing unless you tell me. So number one, comment below, like, subscribe, and share this if you're getting value from it. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite strategies, which is paying your children. Now, this is a big strategy for most business owners because as you get into business, you're always looking for ways to maximize two things. Number one, profitability. Number two, deductions, right? We want to make more money and keep more money. And more importantly, we want to find a way to deduct things that make sense for us. There's a lot of ways to deduct things, right? We can buy anything as a deduction in most cases for our business, but we definitely want to leverage the tax code so that we can get two benefits, right? When you pay your children, you're not going to just get one benefit, you're going to get two. Number one, you get for some labor, right? That's the benefit, right? Number two, you get the tax-free savings because when you pay your children, you don't actually have to pay taxes. And so today I want to break down that as a strategy. And if you're here for the long haul and you want to stick with me, thank you so much. Today is going to be fun. So let's head over to the board, right? So first and foremost, this is my notes, right? So first thing we're going to talk about is age. So we can have a debate here today on what it is, the age that a child needs to be in order to be on payroll or to be paid. Payroll is a very loaded word. I'll get to that in a minute. So my recommendations is no younger than 6 years old. But if I had to pick a sweet spot, the IRS has stated that 7 is really the number. Okay, 7 years old. Now, could you pay a child before the age of 6 or 7? Of course you could. However, they have to have some sort of reasonable activity that they could justify the pay or the compensation. So typically we can think of, let's say you sold clothing and you had a clothing boutique, and let's say you sold children's clothing. And let's just say your children are of the age of, let's call it 2, 3, 4, or 5, and maybe you sold clothing of those ages. Well, a model could be one of your children. Your children could sport the clothes. There could be pictures. You could use it for content. They could go live. Those are things that a child could do to create income for themselves because now they're marketing, they're promoting, they're using and leveraging your business, and you're using and leveraging their talent. You see what I'm saying? Their talent and their skills becomes something that you can monetize. And so in vice versa, they could get paid or compensated from your business. So even though I'm going to use 6 is probably the minimum age, 7 is the ideal age plus, right? And actually I should probably erase that and I should say 7 to 18 years old is usually the years. Now, as they progress in age, you have to remember that they can do more and more things. So it's very hard, and we'll get to the amount in a minute. It's very hard to maximize this deduction the younger that they are. Just to be clear, it's very hard. I mean, a 5-year-old, even though he may be able to do a lot in your business, it's got to be fair and reasonable. So let's talk about that. So fair and reasonable, right? What is fair and reasonable? What activities could they perform in order for them to get compensated? So, typically a child, it doesn't really necessarily mean they have to have hyper, experience or skills. What they could do, a lot of business owners will have them clean the office, shred papers, take out the trash, clean the bathrooms. These are just minor things, but it could go as advanced as delivering packages or assembling things or printing things, depending on the nature of your business. There are activities that they could perform, right? They could perform these activities for a compensation. And we're going to talk about the amounts in just a few minutes, but just know that the activities that they perform are very much in line with what the outcome of the business is supposed to do, right? If it's a task or a duty that is normally used or needed to have happened in your business, then they can do it. It's very simple, right? We want to pay our kids and we want to make money or save money. This is the way we do it. So I think about shredding papers. I think about moving stuff, moving supplies, organizing supplies, right? Reorganizing, moving anything. I mean, these are just activities. Now, now that we know, of course, that we have an age group and we know some of the activities, let's talk about how much you should compensate them. So the max, well, there is no max, but the recommended max is $13,850. Okay. Now, I put max, but that's not really the max. You can pay them as much as you want. The challenge is after this number, there are some filing requirements, meaning they'll actually have to file a tax return, and that's not necessarily something a 6-year-old wants to do. So we have to make sure that we're within the ballpark of the $13,850, which is the amount. Now, when I think about this amount, we have to think about it in a very strategic way, right? So a strategic way would be $13,850. So this is what we would do. We would come to our calculator and we would say $13,850, and we're going to divide that by 12, right? And that should equal $1,154, right? So $1,154 is monthly compensation, right? Now, you don't just give them a monthly compensation just for being your child and just because they shred some papers. There may be, that might be very overcompensating someone, right? Would you pay, just to be clear, would you pay somebody $1,154 a month to shred papers or to clean your bathrooms? Well, it depends on the hours, right? So we have to use a very careful balance of hours versus pay. So how many hours could they possibly work in a week if they went to school? Let's say 20. So if you could divide this, that 1,154, right? So we get this and we do 1,154, and we can divide that by 20 hours. We're at $57 an hour, right? So this would be 57, I said, right? Hourly, right? Whatever. I think it was 57 or was it 54? Whatever I put, I don't remember, but 57, right? Let's use that as a number. Are you going to pay somebody $50 an hour to shred some papers? Probably not. So we have to be very reasonable. Now, the goal is to get to this number, but we can't just say we're going to pay them the max without having activities to back it up. Because if you were ever in an audit, in a case with the IRS, they're going to ask you to justify the compensation. And again, the closer they are to this number, the harder it becomes to justify the $13,850. So what I recommend is that you give them activities in line with their skill sets that could be maximized. So we could even say we want to pay our kids $15 an hour, right? I think that's a fair, that's what you make at McDonald's apparently today. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but if you do 15, right? You do 15 and they work 20 hours a week, right? And let's just assume they work 50 weeks throughout the year, right? Times 50. That's $15,000. See, now we're getting close. Now we're getting real close. It's actually less than that. So what I'm getting at is it's not hard to get there, but they have to do the 20 hours at $15 an hour and so on and so forth. Like there's a formula for this. But I want you to know the point of this is to get to this number, $13,850 per child between the ages of 6 and 18 who do activities that you must be able to substantiate, which leads me to the next one, which is document. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how you actually create this structure to compensate your kids because it's typically done incorrectly. So the next is to document. So you have to keep, timesheets, right? Just like you would do if you had employees, right? It's an employee, a timesheet. Hours worked, date of the year, right? So date, hours worked, date, hours worked, date, hours worked, so that they can get reimbursed or paid by the company up to this $13,850. So once they hit this, by the way, that doesn't mean they work for free, but that's up to you. But this is the $13,850 that they need to hit. You keep a timesheet. Now, let's transition to two things. Where I'm going to put a bonus in here at the end where I'm going to tell you what you could do with the money. But the point being here now is how do we actually do this correctly, right? How do we do it correctly? So let's move this over here. So when you start a company, typically people have LLCs, right? So a limited liability company. Now, this LLC has to make an election, right? The election could be sole prop, could be partnership, could be S Corp, could be C Corp. Okay? You've got these. It could be a nonprofit, but we're going to leave these. Now, just so you know, to pay your children, you should never use these two entities, okay? You should never use an S Corp or C Corp. The reason being, These are corporations that need to have payroll, which means if you paid your children out of here, you would have to take FICA out, okay? Which means they pay taxes. Your children don't need to pay taxes. In fact, that's not what this whole is about, okay? So never pay them with a C or an S. That's just not the way to do it. Partnerships. Can you pay your children with a partnership? You surely can. I would just recommend that if you're going to do that, the partnership is you and your wife. Because if you have another partner, they may not be in agreement with you paying your child and they're not getting their child paid, depending on age. So this is a maybe, okay? This one's a maybe. Sole proprietorships, easy. That's the easiest way to pay. Why, right? Because this one, you just give them a check. So you're just going to give them a big fat check for $13,850. Now it's going to be an incremental, right? Name here and signature here, So the point being is sole prop, just pay them. Partnership, maybe if you're married, that'd be great. These two, you never pay S Corp or C Corp. Now the way, if you're an S Corp or a C Corp and you can't pay your kids, the workaround is to open a family management company, FMC. Now that family management company is what's going to now pay your kids. So your S Corp will send down dollars in the amount of $13,850, and it will fund your family management company, and then your family management company will fund your kids. That's how you structure this. You never pay out of the S and put it as a C. Okay, so with that being said, let's now talk about what they could do with the money. If you have questions, put them in the chat. So how to invest the money? Right? Payroll for kids. Kids pay. We're just going to call it kids pay. Right? This is the question, right? What do I do with the money? Are we good with questions? You got one? Oh, okay. 1099. That's good. By the way, in the payroll summary, you don't actually need to 1099 your kids. You don't 1099 them and you don't W-2 them. They're not necessarily, household employees don't need those things. So you have to, or I'm sorry, not household. That's a technical term. Your children don't need to get those two things. So it's not a 1099. It's not a W-2. It's through either your family management company, right? A direct payment, or through your sole prop, a direct payment. That's all it is. And on your tax returns, you're just going to notate it as other services. I think that's a technical term, but I don't remember. There's a term that you need to put, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a term you need to put. Actually, I might even have it in my notes. Is that the only question we got? Oh, yeah, let's go with it. What do we got a question on? No, as long as they're your child. As long as they're your child, like biological or adopted, or you know what I'm saying.
Structure an agreement for that operation. Can we just pay them straight from LLC?
You can, and actually that's what I recommend over here. You could be an LLC operating as a sole proprietorship. It could pay them a check. It could be a partnership, husband and wife, pay them a check. Well, it doesn't even have to be a check. It could be a transfer inside of the bank accounts. S Corps, no payment. C Corps, no payment. You don't pay them there. You actually send the money to your family management company, and your family management company will pay your kids. Good question. Yeah.
I already paid mine out of company. I didn't do taxes. Can I remedy this and start at FMC?
Yes, you can. However, what do you mean we didn't pay taxes? Because you're not supposed to take any taxes out of them. There's not supposed to be federal withholdings of any sort, nor is there Medicare or Social Security for children. You don't need to do that. Good thoughts. So we have another one? Yeah, go ahead.
Is the family management company a separate LLC? Would it be sole proprietor or partnership?
So, and family, the question is a family management company a LLC or a sole proprietorship? It could be either or. However, what we like to do is do a DBA. So this would be a DBA, doing business as X family management company. And that's usually how we would structure it.
And how about grandchildren?
Grandchildren can also be paid. That is 100% correct.
So another question. Could that be the same for a parent working for an LLC?
A parent working for an LLC. I don't know what you mean. You would want, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what that means. A parent working for an LLC. I'm not sure what that means.
LLC, sole proprietor here. So do I create them a bank account and give them a check or transfer the money based on hours worked?
Okay, cool. So how do we use the money? This is good, right? So let's say you wrote your child a $13,000 and $50 at the end of the year for the work they performed. Good job. Okay. Now, when they take the money, what do you do with it, or where do you place it? First, you could put it in a bank account, right? And you could either do the bank account. Usually, kids can't open a bank account, so there's like a joint or a guardianship account. Most banks will allow you to do that. So it'd be your name and their name in trust of or something of that nature. So you could just deposit in the bank. Next, you could also open a 529 plan, right, which is for a child's savings that go to college. You can also do a Roth IRA. You can fund a Roth IRA. You can also just put it in a high yield savings. And that can be there for their kids, right? All of these are ways to put the money. I know some parents who use that as the allowance. So what they do is they put the piggy bank of $13,850, and every month they now get that money back in return at some point, either for their clothes for school or for their spending cash or whatever that may be. I hope that answered the question, how you fund it or what you do with it. Share this. If you guys like this stuff, please share. I'm trying to spread the word that the education. I want to help you keep and grow your money. This is a great strategy to do it, and I don't want anybody to miss this. There's a lot of people out there that need this advice, but don't know how to do it, don't know what to say or who to ask. Let me help. Please share, or like, or subscribe. All right, what else we got? Okay, cool. So when we fund these accounts, right, so we got $13,850, we put it in a bank account, which could also be a high yield savings account, which could be a Roth, and if you can contribute into the Roth every year, this could be compounding so that when your child is, 20 or 30 or 40, they'd have a lot of money. You could also put it in a 529, which is a plan created to fund a child's college fund, and then just a regular bank account, whatever that may be for you. Do we have any questions on there? It's okay.
We are wanting to do with our 11-year-old. We have a mattress shop, and our daughter helps with some deliveries, marketing, cleaning our shop. But it seems to fit in all in 20 hours a month, but maybe 8 to 10 hours a month or so. She's homeschooled, so not sure how we can have her do more to justify the pay.
Well, I would just make sure, by the way, even if it's a limited amount of hours, maybe some of those are skilled hours, right? Maybe it's things that she only knows how to do or could do. This would really help. So I would recommend that you just either, honest truth, we don't need to hit this number. Meaning if the hours don't make sense, they don't make sense. I'm not trying to get you to be off or to commit some sort of fraud. If it equals to $10,000, that's what it equals to. But again, there can always be an activity, especially a mattress firm. I would imagine selling or a mattress shop rather, right? Delivering mattresses, checking inventory. Maybe she needs to test out every mattress every day, She could lay on the mattress, tell you if it's nice and soft, make sure it's good for kids. Maybe she could model on the mattress, right? Like, this mattress is approved by kids. It's kid friendly, those kind of things, See what I'm saying?
Someone puts her, okay, we have our children invest into real estate with the money.
Yes. So you can actually take the money. Another one could be an LLC. You can fund an LLC bank account. Okay. And you could put them on the LLC, and then that LLC can then go buy real estate. So yes, can be done. Or a business.
Is this method valid worldwide or just in the USA?
I'm not an expert in taxation across the world. U.S. tax system is what I know the best. So as far as I'm concerned, it is valid here in the United States under the U.S. tax code.
Can we invest or put into a full life insurance or index life insurance plan?
You guys are reminding me of things. So yes, you can fund an insurance. Typically, the insurance policy I would recommend has high cash value, not death benefit. So yes, you can do an insurance policy. That could be an IUL or some sort of infinite banking concept that are out there. You could do those things. I'd be very careful, by the way, when you set up insurance policies in general. I think you should be very careful. Really being that the majority of life insurance salesmen, this is not to hate on them, but they're ignorant. Ignorant means a state of unknowing. Okay. They don't understand what they're trying to do. Most of them are trained to get high commission sales rather than maximizing the benefits to the client. Just saying that based on my experience, knowing that to be said, when you invest in life insurance, just make sure that you understand the outcome that you want, which is I want to pay as much as I can that goes towards cash value versus as much as I can to go to death benefit, because death benefit isn't as important when you're young. It's actually cash value because you can either borrow or leverage that in the future.
So do I just write off my kids' income as a business expense?
Correct. It's other services. It's a service that you're going to be getting provided. It's not a payroll deduction or anything. All right, we got
What is the cap that is able to pay your child?
13,850, but if you had 10 kids, then it would be $138,500. You know what I'm saying? There's no cap. Obviously, this could be capped based on the income of your business. So if your business doesn't make money, this kind of doesn't really matter, right? So let me just use this as an example real quick, right? So what we're doing, right? Let's just say my business makes $100,000 this year. This is what we're going to net. Then what I'm trying to do, let's say I have 2 kids. So I'm going to do, right here, let's do the math so we can see it. 13,850 times 2. That's $27,000, 27.7. So actually, let me, I'll just do this real quick. Oh, one, I got it right there. So we have 7. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to do the easy math. 27,000, right? So here we are. We've got it to 73,000. Now my income is now 73,000 because I paid my kids the 27,000. So my goal is to get my income to go down, and this is a strategy to do it. Takes it down. Now I just rounded to 27,000. It should be 27,500 or whatever. So just using the strategy, now the difference between here and here, what that is tax dollars saved. Because for an example, if we were at the 20% tax bracket, this would equal to $20,000 in taxes. Versus here, this would equal 73 times 2 is 14,600. So the difference is $6,000 almost in tax savings just by doing this strategy. I saved $6,000 on my taxes because of it. Do we have questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Where do you usually split their names in the operating agreement?
That's a legal question. I mean, I don't necessarily know what you mean by where would I put their names. Could be an owner, could be a board member, that would be a legal question. I'm sorry, I don't necessarily want to give you that without knowing the complexity of your situation.
Why is the age range 7 through 11?
7 through 11 is 7 through 18. 7 through 18. 6, you can go lower, like I mentioned. You can actually go as young as an infant. However, you have to be able to justify in your company that they have played a role that needs to be compensated. So as an example, back to my earlier example, which is if I owned a clothing store and my clothing store also sold children's clothing, and let's say we had, infant clothing, and I wanted to use my child as a model for those infant clothing, then there could be a justification for compensation. Does that make sense? And by the way, artistic stuff like images and things typically pay more money. You guys would probably think of that, right? So, any other questions?
Can I hire my 17-year-old child to do work on my rental house to offset the rental income?
Could you hire your 17-year-old child to offset rental income? Yeah, of course. It's the same strategy. You're going to try to get them to go to $13,850, which the truth is that's probably easier at 17 years old. And yes, it would offset. It's not offsetting income. It's reducing income, right? It's reducing income. So if the rental produced an income of, let's call it $13,850, and I had a $13,850 deduction, well, now I've offset my income. There you go. That was good. That was a good question.
So you don't have to add them to payroll?
No, if you actually add your children to payroll, it's because you're either doing an S Corp or a C Corp, and you should never do that because they don't need to pay federal withholdings, nor do they need to pay Medicare or Social Security. It doesn't need to be that way. You can either set up, if that's the case, set up a family management company so you could pay them. All right, so if you're here in YouTube, thank you for staying, by the way. So what questions, do we have any more questions in the group? I can do some. All right, so I'm going to teach you guys a real cool thing real quick, right? So we want to talk about FMC, right? Family Management Companies. Now, FMCs are very important because the FMC is actually the tool that you would use if you were an S Corp or C Corp. Most people don't talk about this. So the way it would be structured, for an example, if I had an S Corp, which most people do, okay, my S Corp would then, and let's assume this is my 1040, right, which is my tax return. So I have an S Corp, and typically the S Corp reports my income on my 1040, so whatever's left. Now, what I want to do is I actually want to side an FMC over here. And this could be a DBA or an LLC, a single member LLC or a DBA. And I'm going to call it the Bettis Family Management Company. Now, the Bettis Family Management Company is going to get and receive $13,850 that is going to come from the S Corp for services of management. So this is the management company. So it actually manages my S Corp. It's a part of the management structure. Me and my children are part of this. We own this little company down here. It's a DBA or a single member LLC. I send these guys a bill over here. I send them a bill, and then they send me in return. They're going to send me the $13,800. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to pay my little kids over here, and they're going to be real happy because that's where I'm going to pay them. So I pay them for my family management company. Now my family management company is going to report its income on my 1040 on a Schedule C. This is called the Schedule C. Okay. So if you were wondering how do you do this, this is the simple way. You get an S Corp. If that's your S Corp as your management company, then you, as your company, not a management company, this is your business. Your business writes checks to your family management company, which manages that business, which your kids are part of. Those kids get payroll from there, and you report your family management income. And by the way, the income on the family management company should be zero. It always zeroes out. Do we have any more questions?
Yes.
Go for it.
Do I need to PIN to pay my kids?
Well, if you don't have a business, you would definitely need one. But this family management company should have an EIN, by the way. Should have an EIN. So yes.
Can we just have our kids pay us back at the end of the year or throughout the year without any IRS?
Pay you back. Not quite sure what you mean by pay you back, but just so you know, if you took the money from your children, or if your children got compensated for activities performed within the business and it got to the $13,850, if it was in a bank account that was issued to you and them, I don't care what happens to the money then. That's y'all's deal, not mine.
Can a sole member LLC open a 401k for the child who was paid their $2,000 in 2023 and do match of the child's salary?
No, because in order to start a traditional IRA, which is, it could be a 401k, in order to do that, there must be what they would call, what's the term? They have to have earned income. There you go. That's the term. Earned income. Now, the only way that and it has to be documented earned income. So the only way that that could happen is if you put them through payroll. Payroll would then now withhold federal withholdings. In addition to that, it would withhold Social Security and Medicare. So if you did that, you could technically fund a 401k or and then have contributions, but you would be paying into the system that they don't need to. And by the way, why do you like 401k? I mean, come on, man. Why don't you just do a Roth? It would be so much more effective in the future. Just do a Roth. You don't have to pay the taxes later. You're setting your kids up for taxes to be paid later in the year in their lives versus a Roth that it's already done. So good question. Very good question. Any other questions? All right. So family management company, if you had an S Corp, which is your main business, you would start a family management company. If this was not an S Corp, and let's say it was just an LLC single member, then I don't need this family management anymore because I could just pay my kids over here. Because that's what would happen. You would just pay your kids here. So real structured. I'm going to recap real quick, and then we're going to end for today. So if you guys got a lot out of this, and you feel like this is something that you could benefit from or someone else could benefit from, please share this with somebody. Like and follow and subscribe to our page because I would really like this. All right. So remember that in order to pay your children, you must have a clear definition of what their age and duties and responsibilities are. So typically we like to see 6 and up. 7's ideal. But knowing that we have 7 as the ideal number, I would say you can always go down as low as birth. But you have to have a legitimate method, a reason rather, for compensating them. That would be, in more than most cases, it would have to be for modeling or, I mean, that's the most common, modeling, right? So if we have modeling as that, maybe it's for some sort of pictures, photography that would showcase either your product or service. Okay. And to be very honest with you, it'd be very, very difficult to get to the 13,850 unless they were some celebrity and they became some influencer on, I don't know, TikTok. Okay. So with that being said, it'd be very difficult. So 6 to 7, 7 typically is the ideal age, 7 to 18, which is really 7 to 17. And then in those compensations, we want to make sure we document and track the times, and then we use a fair and reasonable wage to get to it. You don't always get to $13,850, but if you can, congratulations, then you are maximizing your ability to deduct it. Now, to pay your children, you want to make sure you pay them either through a family management company or a solo LLC, single member LLC, no S Corps, no C Corps. And if you do have S Corp or C Corp, then establish a family management company to pay them. Now, the payments must be, given to them either into a bank account or some sort. It could be pulled aside. It doesn't necessarily matter because when you put it on your bookkeeping, you're just going to notate it as another service. Now, when you get that money, what do you do with it? You could do several things, which I outlined over here. I don't know where I put it, but you could either do a high yield savings, you could do a life insurance policy, a 529 plan, a Roth IRA, because that can be contributed to. Could also invest in businesses or real estate. The money can go anywhere in any way. I honestly think if you were to put it into a Roth or a high yield life insurance policy would probably be a very good idea for your children, especially with that number. So that is the summary of everything. I think I saw a question. What's the question, Priscilla?
How much can the child put in a Roth IRA?
That would be capped at the $6,600 or whatever dollars. I think it's 6,000 or 7,000. Whatever the cap is for 2023. I can't remember. Whatever the cap is, that's the cap.
Question. Can I feed my child to for account and sure her own right tuition? And I write off her wages. She is my social media manager.
So can I pay my child to her own account and then she pays for her own school? I don't understand what the benefit of that for taxes is because you're only getting the deduction for the child being paid. So not quite sure. She can do whatever the hell she wants to do with the money. And you can use it as well. As long as the deduction is for hours and services performed, it does not matter. Okay. All right, guys. So we've been going for about 34 minutes. Every Wednesday, it's Building Wealth Live with David. Now, the reason this show has been formed is really to be able to give you ways to keep and grow your money and maximizing the deductions, credits, savings, and strategies so that you can keep and grow more of your money, because I believe the more you can have, the more you are able to build your own economy. And if you like this content, you want more of it, please, I beg you, please hit the subscribe button. Please share and like this stuff. I put a lot of energy into this, if you can't tell. This is one of my favorite topics. Paying children, most people are like, yeah, I want to do it, but they don't do it properly. They don't do it right. They do it seldomly. And I don't want you to get audited, but I also want you to make sure you maximize your tax savings. So if you like this stuff, please follow me for this and much, much more every Wednesday, CST, 12 CST every day. I mean, every Wednesday, I'm going all crazy. Every Wednesday, 12 Central Standard Time. You can join me live. You can bring your lunch. You can bring your friends. You can invite your friends over and have a party, whatever you want, your coworkers. Let's enjoy this stuff together. So I'm very thankful for each and every one of you. If you have more questions or comments, put them in the chat. We'll answer those as they come up. And I wish you a very happy and successful rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk soon, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.